Good evening, folks, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined this week by one of my merry cohorts, TeacherKirby.
Hello, how's it going?
Our resident Neela has not yet made an appearance, and Artie has gone off to quell a mirror universe invasion. So, Artie will not be joining us this evening. Neela, I don't know where he's at. Everything, so probably will not be joining us either. So it is just us two screwballs. And this is what I have to put up with, dancing on the Dabo table there.
Artie was kidnapped by Obasek.
Yes.
Yep. Anyway.
So
yes, so you see what he has to put. My husband is right next to you. They're dark blading game, and you can hear what he says.
It's wrong on so many levels.
And if you folks can hear the if you can hear our mysterious disembodied voice over the TeamSpeak, yes, that is our special yet infrequent guest, Poe, TeacherKirby's husband. But before you fine folks out there have to bleach your eyes from seeing this, let's get into the articles and everything, shall we? Now, one of the first things we have is actually our visuals set. This is some of the prevailing regalia space sets that you can get for your ships. This is a video that they had put up on Facebook, actually. You can kind of see the set on a couple of the different ships there. So, I've not really used them too much, but what about you, teacher?
I haven't used them at all. But they do look nice from what I've seen. So, yeah. So those of you that are into the Space Barbie thing, you got more things to play with.
Indeed. But these are, we should probably mention where these come from. This is actually from the new competitive war games reputation that you guys on console picked up. And, yeah. Should definitely check that out if you're a Space Barbie person. But moving right along, for our consoles, we actually have the Privateer Lockbox.
Ooh. They're just a little bit behind us, aren't they?
Just a little bit
Yeah,
now.
because they just had Season 13 released. So the Privateer Lockbox has the big prize, the Tier 6 prize, is a Miradorn class heavy raider. Nice little ship, very nimble. Has 5 fore weapons, 1 aft, bridge officer stations, 1 commander, tactical / pilot, 1 ensign universal, 1 lieutenant universal / intel, 2 lieutenant commander universal. So as you can see, very, very flexible ship. So, yeah, I mean, the only committed one is the commander tactical / pilot. So very interesting layouts there you can do with that. Console modifications are 5 tactical, 2 engineering, 4 science. And excellent turn rate of 20 degrees, etc., etc., plus 15 to weapon power and 5 to engine power, what you expect from a raider. And yeah, the ship trait advantageous positioning, I can't words tonight, is the starship trait, and we'll read what that does in a little bit. You also get your heavy weapon, which is a dual warhead launcher, and see, this weapon will fire warheads at your target. Each warhead will explode upon impact, dealing heavy kinetic damage. It may be upgraded like a standard weapon, swapped out for another heavy weapon, and placed in any other starship's heavy weapon slot. And the console is the Miradorn Sensor Baffler. And when this console's ability is activated, your starship will release a powerful electromagnetic pulse that will placate nearby foes, preventing them from being able to attack you, as well as knocking their engines offline. Also, you will gain a critical hit chance and critical hit severity bonus for a short time. Additionally, any flanking damage buffs you receive from intel flanking or raider flanking is increased. This console also provides a passive boost to critical hit chance and defense, and it may be equipped in any console slot, but only on either the Miradorn Heavy Raider or the Husnock warship. And the advantageous positioning trait is, while this starship trait is slotted, your weapons gain a small amount of armor penetration while attacking your target's rear arc. And as you can see, nice Admiralty ship stats. Okay. And then there's also the Husnock Tier 6 warship, which you can buy from the Lobby store. And this has a Commander Tactical / Temporal Operative, Specialist Bridge Officer seat, and a Lieutenant Science / Command Specialist seat. Okay, and let's get to the details. 5 fore weapons, 3 aft. A nice amount of hull. Let's see, where are we? Bridge Officer stations, 1 Commander Tactical / Temporal Operative, 1 Ensign Engineering, 1 Lieutenant Commander Engineering, 1 Lieutenant Science / Command, 1 Lieutenant Commander Universal. This seems very similar to, and I'm going to say it, seems very similar layout to the Scimitar. Not exact, but fairly similar. I can see very similar builds to that being made on this. So we have 5 tactical consoles, 4 and science, turn rate of 12 degrees, and only +10 to weapon power, +10 to shield. And we do get a molecular reconstruction beam. That is nice, and it can load dual cannons. Let's see, and our ship trait is called Directed Energy Flux, which, okay, while slotted, after activating any temporal operative bridge officer ability or the directed energy modulation ability, will boost the damage of cannon rapid fire and beam overload for a short time. So if you use those skills, this might be something you want to consider using. Alright, and our console heavy particle focuser array, when this ability is activated, it will fire a burst of particle beams which deal electrical damage and bypass a portion of the target's shields. The heavy particle emitter array will gain 1 charge every 30 seconds for a maximum of 4 charges. Activating this ability will consume all charges and fire a number of beams at the target based on the number of charges consumed. Additionally, particle beam damage increases with each charge consumed. So if you wait the full 2 minutes, you're gonna get better stuff out of it. Alright, and this console may be equipped in any console slot, but may only be equipped either on the Miradorn Theta Class Heavy Raider or the Husnock warship. Alright, so you also get These are the nice things. You also get the Echo Papa 607 drone. These are the ones that attacked Geordie on that episode where they were fighting the planet that had been completely eliminated by a weapon system. And this is in the Privateer pack. Let's see what else we got. New Starship traits are also available. We have Punch It. When you suffer damage below 50% hull strength, an emergency response is triggered. Nearby enemy combatants within 5 kilometers will have their engines and weapons knocked offline, while your ship has all control debuffs removed and gains a boost to defense and mobility for a brief period. Recycled power conduits. Activating a control bridge officer ability will reduce your target's auxiliary and weapon power levels while enhancing your own weapons and auxiliary power levels and weapon firing speed for a short duration. And I'm going to stop reading all these because we could go through the whole show, but I will read the titles. So we have a parting gift. New captain traits are also available. Spring in my step, Privateer's luck. We have Rogue's charm, Fulcrum shift, cyclical power capacitors, and Smuggler's luck. The Lobby store also has a set of space equipment. The Saboteur's Gambit 3-piece set. This consists of a console, vehicle photon torpedo, and a disruptor weapon, either beam array or dual cannon. The 2-piece set bonus drains the bonus drain and control expertise. Cannot words tonight. The 3-piece set bonus is a high-yield saboteur delivery vehicle is rigged with a time-delayed explosive. There's also combat armor, of course. And finally, a privateer outfit is available for captains to purchase and wear. That was a lot of stuff, huh, Darkblade?
Yeah, they definitely loaded this one down with quite a bit of stuff. And indeed, we could go through at least another 30 minutes talking about all this stuff. But
yeah.
Yeah. I know I myself, I was actually surprised at how many traits they had this go around. Some of them I definitely see having some uses. But, yeah, I think they, at least for us on PC, for me anyway, they need a little bit more experimentation. But, yeah, if you're
definitely.
If you're a Space Barbie person, or you like checking out new stuff, then you're definitely gonna have some fun with some of these nice little toys in here. But
yes, definitely.
Anyways, definitely check that out, console players. I know that Raider is a very good thing. A lot of people are saying, at least that I've heard anyway, that it's one of the better heavy weapons. But leave that up to you guys to determine if you agree with that or not, or whatever you think about it. But moving along, we have our patch notes for the console on the 6th. You guys had the new featured episode, Mirrors and Smoke, and the new episode, Survivor. And I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, I want to think that Survivor comes before Mirrors and Smoke, or do I have that reversed?
Wait. Let me check.
And into the in-game journal we go. Okay, so Survivor does come before Mirrors and Smoke. Okay. I had it right!
Okay. You did? You get a cookie.
Yay.
Well, you know, House of Oreo. What else are we going to give out?
Yeah, good point. But, Anyways, the good thing about the featured episode, folks, as you'll remember, is the featured episode box that you get for doing it the first time each week on a tune. That box contains a universal tech upgrade or a spec point, and you could trade that to any of your characters on an account as long as you have an account bank to move it through. So that is a very nice thing.
Yes, it is.
And then we had the episode of Survivor, which was also a very nice episode. But those are your two major episodes and bits of story that you're getting. We also have the War Game scenarios. We have the Core Assault. This is one I believe we touched base on either last week or the week before. This is the one where you're racing through trying to get to the final room to destroy the other team's core. And it is possible to get there and destroy it before they arrive. Then we also had the Binary Circuit, which is on the ground. This is one that does not involve direct PvP combat, but is one of the starter queues that you'll have. They also have the Competitive War Games reputation. I believe we've also touched base on that a little bit as well.
Yes, we have.
But and it should be noted as well, folks, that most of these on the blog that I'm reading from actually do have links to the individual blogs if you want to get more information, such as the Competitive War Games or even the Space Balance changes. Now, the big thing that came along with Season 13, especially for the PC, was actually the space balance changes. Now, we did touch base on some of the major things a few episodes back whenever this released for the PC. I'm not really going to go into too many details as far as that goes, except that to say you will want to, once we put up the local recording for you guys to check out, you want to go in here and you'll want to go to the space balance changes to see some of the stuff that actually did get altered. There's very few abilities in the game that did not get some type of a touch-up, captain and bridge officer wise, so that is something you're going to want to keep in mind.
They also did change the way the way each of the ultimates work. Actually,
Yes.
they touched on those on each one, so it's good to read through it, look through it, find the old episodes where we talked about it. We did go in detail on it for at least one episode, maybe more than one. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely, because it is going to affect. I know that the console games don't have a parser, but you will notice a change in your effectiveness.
Yep. The one thing I had actually touched base on and said, as far as in the previous episodes, I'll actually say that here for you guys. For me personally, anyways, I compared these balance changes to something that World of Warcraft did several years ago. Now, if you're a WoW player, in addition to playing STO, or if you've ever spent any bit of time in WoW, you may have heard of the item squish that they did a few years ago, where basically for WoW, a lot of the stats had gotten out of control, so to combat this, basically they changed the scaling curve of the gear and they altered the enemies to compensate. So, percentage-wise, you were doing the same amount of damage. Just the numerical value had changed. So, if you were hitting a guy for 100,000 points of damage, and he had 1,000,000 health, you're hitting him for 10% of his health in one go, before the change, but afterwards, you're hitting him for 10,000 points of damage when he has 100,000 HP. So, same percentage, different number. And everything. But the other big thing that they did do, since, as TeacherKirby mentioned, they altered the ultimates at the end of the skill trees, they did give a free skill respec to each character upon login, which is a very big thing. The Delta Quadrant missions, this is one of the big ones that people had complained about on PC for a while. They removed the Kobali Adventure Zone missions from the journal, replaced them with 3 wrappers titled Kobali Crisis Act 1, 2, and 3, which contained the removed missions. Now, one thing I will mention with this is that originally it was stated that these missions were going to be optional somewhere. I have not been able to find that again since it was originally stated, but you will pretty much have to do these missions in order to progress.
Progress, yeah.
Which, like I say, I've not been able to find it.
it's a neat...
It is.
It is a neat little storyline. And, especially if you like the whole Kobali thing and you like the whole Vodwar thing, it does tie them in nicely, and it's kind of a neat little story. But I don't know, it's a lot of ground, which a lot of players tend not to like.
Yep.
Most players prefer the space combat, and I think because of that, a lot of players neglect their ground development, which just makes it all the more harder for them, which is why I think we get a lot of complaints, or Cryptic gets a lot of complaints. We get them too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I would
You
say
guys saw the devs from this.
I've had a few people randomly PM me and give me complaints about that stuff. For me, I would say one of the biggest gripes, it's not necessarily that the missions are there, it's that you can't skip them. And that's what, to me anyway, annoys a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, speaking of
'Cause it's like-
unskippable things... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because most missions in the game you can skip. You go through and you can skip whole arcs and, without having to do anything other than the go talk to this person. Okay, you're done. Missions, you can skip arc and arc and arc and arc, and then you come to this and you're stuck.
Yep.
Anyway, but enough griping.
Yep. Now, the other big thing is the Delta Patrols are no longer required for mission progression, but do still remain in the game. So, if you remember those missions where you had to go all over the Delta Quadrant doing patrols, you no longer have to do that. The patrols themselves will still be there if you want to do them, but are no longer required. Now, the big thing with the patch notes as well is they actually scaled down the experience requirements from 50 to 60. Now,
And they're not kidding when they say significantly lowered.
indeed. Now, I know we're spending a lot of time on the patch notes, but there is some of the major things that we do want to touch base on. That way you guys are better prepared and everything, so that nothing really catches you with your pants down, as the saying goes. We want to get that information out there to you guys. That way you're able to kind of plan ahead and everything. Now, I actually leveled a tune recently with the experience requirements having been lowered. And, like Teacher says, they're not kidding when they said significantly lower. Now, beforehand, if I was going from, say, 59 to 60 to get that final level, it might take me 3, 4, or 5 missions to do it. And when I say 4 or 5 missions, I'm talking like one whole, go here, do this mission. And I might move a couple of bars. Well, now, since they lowered the experience, it only takes 1, maybe 2 missions to do that. And if you've got any kind of experience booster on top of that, you're going to jump at least, I would say, close to half a level off of each mission.
Yep.
Possibly more. Now, they also have changed the NPC scaling to compensate a bit. They've toned down the modifier curve for NPCs past 50, They'll still be close to the same at level 60. So that is a very big thing to keep in mind. But some of those changes. Now, the next big thing that I do want to look at is this actually involves some of the system stuff and everything. Now, one of the big things is the account starship trait unlocks. And this is something they added to the Dilithium store for characters that are level 50 or higher. And basically what this does says if the player owns a starship on their account that grants a trait on the list below, and it gives a little bit of a list, it says the characters on the player's account that are of the incorrect faction to fly that starship will be able to instead claim a box containing the unlock trait for free. So pretty much any trait on that list, if you have the ship on one faction but you can't get that ship on a different faction, then you get that trait unlocked for free just by going to that reclaim spot.
So, for example, Gornalicious is the one in the pink shorts is on my main account. So, if I go to the Dilithium store here and I open it up and I go to, it was in Reclaim, and I go to Reclaim, I see there's a few here. It's not in the Reclaim, is it? Where is it? There we go. Okay, so it's under the account start. It's got its own tab at the very bottom. And so I can see, now he's Klingon, so he's not going to have things like numerical superiority in a ship that he can claim. So I have numerical superiority here. I have things like retaliation, desperate repairs, shield overload, right? So these are all the things that only Fetty Bears and Romulans can have. And so they're all available on my KDF character, and all I have to do is claim it.
Indeed. But if you're somebody that has a lot of ships, maybe you've purchased a lot of them, then this can total up to quite a few traits, depending on what kind of ships you've purchased and everything. I know it did for me anyway. But
Yep.
then one big thing I do want to touch on, as far as carrier pets are now immune to warp core breaches, thank God. But that is a very big thing. And you can see, just by me scrolling down, there's quite a few notes here. I'm not even really to the bottom of everything. And you can see just how much is actually here. Let me scroll all the way down. You can see it just goes on and on and on and on as far as the amount of stuff that happened this go around. And we finally reached the bottom. But yeah, definitely you're going to want to check this out. Like I say, we could go for quite a while on this particular set of stuff, but in the interest of time, and because you probably don't want to hear us two dinguses yakking for hours on end, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next thing. We will have links to all of this in the notes once the local recording goes up for you fine folks out there. But moving along, we have our keyring bundle for the console.
Keyring bundle. That's right. So you console guys, you can grab a keyring bundle. This means you'll get a pack of 20 keys, and you will get a single ultimate tech upgrade. Applying this item to any upgradable piece of equipment will instantly set both its mark and quality to maximum, usually Mark 14 and Epic Gold, with 0 dilithium cost. So if you're going to buy the keys anyway, get the keyring bundle. It is worth it for that extra upgrade.
Absolutely. And it should be mentioned as well that this is a universal tech upgrade, so it is not restricted to any specific item type. You can use it on a shield, an engine, a warp core, a weapon, a console. Whatever it is that you want to upgrade, you slap that bad boy on there, and there you go. So, if you're going to buy keys anyway, then, especially if you're going to buy at least 20 of them, you might as well spring for one of these and get some extra little goodie as well. You know, these have saved me quite a few headaches, actually, and are actually how I got the spirals on my Keldon to Gold Epic, instead of burning butt tons and butt tons of dilithium. And I'm pretty sure Kirby knows what I'm talking about, because I think she has either a Keldon or a Galore as well, so she knows how much of a pain those can be.
I know how much of a pain any weapon upgrades can be.
This is
They're definitely a pain.
Yeah.
Alright, moving along.
And we have the Mirrors and Smoke rewards for week 1 on the console. Now this is actually the most current episode that we had here on PC. But, yeah, week 1, touching based on what we said earlier, you get either an enhanced Universal Tech upgrade or Captain Specialization point for this particular mission if you run it the first time each week on a character that is level 10 or above. The box itself can only be opened on a level 50 character or above. But as far as some of the items you get, you'll be getting the Kintari armor set. Then the 2-piece bonus, you can see here, Kintari armor gets some shield pin, 12.5% chance for temporary hit points for 60 seconds when you take damage, and it is plus 20% plasma damage, which is pretty nice if you're using plasma on the ground. And then the 3-piece Residium Reactant Deployment, try saying that 10 times fast. The target area is applied with a healthy coating of Residium Reactant stacks. Once applied, you can trigger this power again to deploy a catalyst within the hazardous area to deal additional damage based on the amount of Residium Reactant stacks. So, fairly decent stuff, and I should mention that if you acquire these items on a lower level tune, they should upgrade to all the way to Mark 12 for free. So you just slap it in there and you hit the upgrade button and there you go. But after Mark 12, you will need to start using dilithium and upgrades as normal.
Yes, so you can play this this episode as low as level 10. I do recommend, because when I played it at that level, with the tune on that level, I had trouble with the final dreadnought. It took me quite a while. So I ended up calling in some friends and saying, hey, let's finish this off. So...
Yeah, that final dreadnought is a pain in the butt.
That final dreadnought can be a pain in the butt for a lower level character. But, yeah, definitely it does. It will upgrade up until Mark 12 for free as you level up. So if you've got a newer character that's Mark 10, you can definitely take it through, and this is a decent armor and whatnot. So it's something to consider.
Indeed. But definitely get out there, get that free spec point, and if nothing else, the free tech upgrade if you don't need spec points. But moving along, we have the Welcome to Season 13 blog.
Yes. So, basically, of course, you have the Welcome to Season 13. It's packed with exciting new content for everyone. And earlier in the year, Zenkathi were revealed. And you got the Zenkathi Battle Zone. And so now you get some extra things. For captains on the console, we have a special surprise from June 6th at 2 p.m. Pacific Time to June 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Captains can grab the following once per account from the promotion tabs of the C-Store. A single-use XP boost that will take a captain from level 50 to level 60. If you are over level 50, the XP boost will roll over into specialization points. An XP boost trait, which gives you bonus XP until you reach level 60. A gearbox, which will grant captains new gear every 10 levels, from levels 10 to 50. That would be a very useful item. And a Tier 6 Ferengi Nandi warship. And I can tell you that Ferengi Nandi warship, that is a really good ship. It is an extremely good ship, so I would take that most definitely. Okay, so this season has been a labor of love for the STO development team. They've had lots of fun playtesting everything that you're getting today with a continuation of our great Zenkathi storyline, new types of gameplay, and some high-quality brand new rewards. This is definitely something for everyone in this update. So a little thank you for playing, and you get the great Nandi warship, and it is a good ship.
Indeed.
Even if it does fly backwards.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of like a fish hook or a grappling hook, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I know we actually got the Nandi on PC a couple years back now, and
As a summer event ship.
was it a summer event?
Yes, sir. Well, it's not green, so it couldn't have been winter.
Well, I don't know, I kept wanting to think anniversary for some reason, but yeah.
No,
Anyway,
it was summer.
so we got this for a summer event ship. I think this might have been one of the first actual pilot ships that we had. Everything, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I want to say yes.
It was around that time anyway that we got the pilot specialization.
Mm-hmm.
But so you guys do get a bit of an advantage versus us scrubs on the PC. We actually had to grind for it. You guys are getting it for free. So, even then, it's not like we had to do much to grind it out anyway. So,
I know.
yeah. But yeah, definitely get it. That starship alone, in my opinion, makes it worth it. But definitely log on and claim those goodies. I know I actually still need to do that, but I'm being a derpily do, and I'm lagging behind.
For shame.
I know, Neela's gonna kill me.
Setting a bad example.
Neela's gonna kill me. But, yeah, definitely check that stuff out, folks. Be sure to get your goodies and everything. This is going to be going on till the 13th. It is currently the 10th at the time that we recorded this, so you've got not much time left to get this. But moving along, we have the 2017 Summer Event Ship Stats for the PC. But this year we have the Vorgon Rankodan carrier, and I probably butchered that name, very well aware of that. This is a Tier 6 ship. This ship can be picked up at level 40, and at level 40 it has 48,750 starting hull and 65k base hull at level 60. So this is one of the higher ships in terms of base hull starting out. It has a shield modifier of 1.05, and then it is a 3-3 weapons layout, 4 device slots. For bridge officer seating, we have a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Ensign Engineering, Commander Engineering, a Lieutenant Commander Science, and a Lieutenant Universal / Temp Ops. For consoles, you have 3 tack, 5 engineering, 3 science, base turn of 6.5 per second, a 10 to shields and 10 to aux power. You have the universal subphasic defense drone, if I could words today. Can load dual cannons, has 2 hangars, and the hangar bays are loaded with Vorgon Enchentis frigates. Yeah, good luck saying that 10 times fast. Then you do get subsystem targeting. You also get the Engineering Cruiser Mastery Package, which is the hangar launch recharge speed, max hull cap, energy damage resistance rating, and max shield cap. And the Restorative Support Starship trait. Now for the Universal Console, everything, it is... it says the Vorgon developed this unique drone in an attempt to duplicate the effects of the Toxutot, a powerful device they once aggressively sought across the time-space continuum. The drone is equipped with a phasic inhibitor which can absorb directed energy, converting the flow in such a way to debilitate attackers' weapons. To add to its utility, the Vorgon also outfit these drones with defensive enhancements that fortify and regenerate the shields of the ship that launches them. Console provides a passive boost to shield subsystem power and projectile damage. Can be equipped on any Vorgon starship. So if you were here last year on the PC and you picked up the Xiphus, this can be equipped on that ship as well. Then for the Restorative Support trait, while it is slotted, using hull heal abilities will create a support probe at the target's location or on yourself. Probe will constantly restore a small amount of hull on the target, as well as passively draining the shields of nearby foes. And then it does give a bit of stats for the frigates and everything that you can get. Now, these particular frigates actually do use mines, which is not something I really see too all that much. It's not that common. And then if you're curious about the Admiralty ship stats, it is 74 engineering, 26 psi, 26 tack, and the special is plus 8 psi and tack per engineering ship. So this is actually, if you were able to catch the dev stream that Bordicus and Ambassador Kale did, well, more so Bordicus appearing on the stream, he had actually mentioned this is one of only 2 of what they call engineering carriers in the game at the moment, which is the only other one being the Obelisk carrier, if you remember that old bird from way back in the day. But, yeah, that's...
Well, the console and the console and trait to me scream survivability. At least that's what they're going for.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had a chance to try them out, but it looks like that's what they're going for, is something to increase survivability. Any chance you'll be testing any of these out in your tank builds?
Oh, I definitely will, and everything. But I've definitely got behind with my tanking and all that good stuff due to personal issues that I've had to take care of. But I'm still around, folks, in case you've been wondering where the tank stuff is. But just had to take care of some personal stuff. But anyway, that aside, my one gripe that I had, and this is the one thing that kind of disappointed me with the ship, is that it's a 3-3. I was hoping for at least a 4-3, because that would have at least put it in line with the Jem'Hadar Dreadnought in terms of weaponry. But I can kind of see why they gave it a 3-3 as well, going for more of the Obelisk type of feel. But, yeah, it's definitely one I'm going to be testing out to see what all she can actually do.
Yep. It definitely, on paper, it looks interesting. I mean, it has room for the Gravwell. It has, if you use the Universal as a tactical, it has a decent amount of tactical slots. You can use the Commander Engineering to really beef up survivability. But the Commander Engineering can beef up survivability. So I think this could be a pretty good tank.
On the tank side of things, what I see that at least I personally would do, you've got your Lieutenant Commander Tactical and everything, so that's pretty much all the tac powers you're going to really need and everything, in my personal opinion anyway. Now, as far as that, I don't see anybody using a torpedo on this ship and everything, unless you're going to spec it out into a torque boat type of deal and everything. I also don't really see anybody loading cannons on this, as far as a tank. You can, but again...
But you can!
Again, it's more of one of those things of... although you can do it, should you do it? And I would
now,
not...
you know there's...
No,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, you know there's somebody out there that just went, dude, hold my beer!
I'm sure there is, and you know what? If that
Somebody.
if that guy is actually watching right now and makes a cannon build with this ship, and it does good, then one, I'm happy for him, and two, I want to see that. So if somebody makes a cannon build out of this thing and whatnot, and you're able to do fairly well with it, I want to see that personally.
And I want to specify, by cannons, we do not mean turrets.
No, we're talking full-on, in-your-face, at least single cannons with the 180-degree arc, or even up to dual heavies. But yeah. But getting back to the tank aspect, like I was saying, I would put the Lieutenant Commander Tactical. That's pretty much all you're going to need. That'll get you a TAC team. That'll get you an attack pattern. That'll get you a FAW for your weapons. As far as your engineering seats, I should say, you've got 5 powers there to work with. That's going to get you at least a engineering team, a reverse polarity. You could probably double up on the emergency to weapons if you wanted to. You would get an emergency to weapons 3, emergency to weapons 1, and then you could get your warp bubble 3. For Lieutenant Commander Science, you know, you could get my preferred setup for that. You've got your science team, your hazard emitters, your grav well, and then for the Lieutenant Universal, you could use some temp ops powers. Everything, kind of play around with those. Otherwise, I might even set it as another tactical base and then go from there. Because then I could squeeze a chemicide on there or something. I don't know. That's just me personally anyway, experimenting off the top of my head. But anyways, moving along, we have the Cold Dishes RP blog. Ugh, can't talk today.
That's okay. Now, this one was quite interesting and even had a shout out to our community manager. So, yeah. So it's up to you if you haven't read it yet to find where that is. I don't think he's gonna survive. But they're killing Dale.
It was actually one of the running gags on the stream, if you caught that.
Yes, it was. But, yeah, definitely interesting. We find out what Torg has been up to all this time since in the episode missions, since you've defeated his house and all of that. So we find out what he's been up to, and it's quite interesting.
Indeed. Now, we don't want to say too much because we don't want to spoil it for you guys
Yeah.
if you haven't read it yet. It is definitely an interesting read, and I see some potential for perhaps a good story arc in the near future off of this. But Yeah, definitely check
At
this
least for
blog out.
KDF.
Indeed. Definitely check this blog out and everything. You'll appreciate the good little cameo from our community manager, Ambassador Kale. I know the content writers are actually giving them just a little bit of grief over it. It's like, have you read the blog yet? Have you read the blog yet? Have you read the blog yet? But
Have you read it yet?
moving along, we have the content designer Ryan Levitt on Priority 1. So, basically, one of the content designers made an appearance over on the Priority 1 podcast and everything. And, yeah, that's not really too much we can say about that. He's the guy that designed the Binary Circuit and Twin Tribulations, as well as Mirrors and Smoke. So, if you've played Season 13, you've played with his work, as the blog says, and the article does include a link to the podcast below, so you can go check that out and support the fine folks over at Priority 1 as well. But, yeah, that's pretty much that. But definitely check that out and everything. Should be pretty interesting. I've not actually watched it yet myself. I'm kind of behind on this sort of thing. But, anyways, moving right along.
Alright, so the next... Good.
Taking an IP and making it your own.
So this is basically an article with an interview with Stephen D'Angelo, who is the head honcho over at STO, on how Star Trek Online changed the devs' approach to licensing and how that will shape its Magic the Gathering MMORPG. So he's basically talking about they're moving on to creating a new thing, and they're taking some of the lessons they've learned from their experience with STO, which is good. It's always good to take what you learn and to apply it to something new, and hopefully come back and apply it to improving STO as well.
Indeed.
Any comments?
So, for those of you out there, like me, you play some of the card games, like Magic the Gathering. Surprise! They're making a Magic the Gathering MMO. But, for me, I am glad to see that they are branching out. I'm glad to see Cryptic growing and everything. I do enjoy STO. I know I've more than got my money's worth of entertainment value back from the game and whatnot. Now, me personally, I don't know if you actually play Magic the Gathering or not, Kirby, but if you've ever followed the story, for those people out there that have followed, or that have played Magic the Gathering, you've probably looked at the story of the different sets and everything a little bit, so you guys are going to know more what I'm talking about. But for those of you that haven't, with each set of cards they introduce, such as... forget what the exact block is right now, but one of the blocks that I played with way back was the Innistrad set of cards, where basically it's like, okay, here's your set of cards for Innistrad, here's the storyline that goes along with it. Now, it's one of those things that it's either going to go really well or it's going to go really bad. And there's a lot of potential for it there because of the rich history that the Magic the Gathering game actually has, as well as with some of its characters. So you could see, perhaps, and don't hold me to this, this is just speculation on my part, you could see stuff where you meet the more well-known characters such as Chandra Nalaar, Soren Markov, perhaps even taking the fight to Nicol Bolas himself. And those are obviously some characters from within the game, for those people not familiar. Basically, the big thing you need to know, Nicol Bolas is the big bad of the big bads, and, well, we all pretty much want him dead. But, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. Definitely looking forward to seeing where they go with this and everything. But moving along, we have the PC patch notes for the 8th. Now, there's a pretty healthy amount of bug fixes and everything this go around. There's some fixes to some of the content, fixes to some of the systems. They added some more stuff to the PvE filtering, everything. Now, the big thing that a lot of people are talking about is the new Protect Items feature. Where basically,
Yes.
it allows you to essentially mark an item, and you can't sell it, discard it, trade it, or put it in the guild bank, or mail it. But, thoughts,
Now, one
teacher?
one thing I have noticed is that if you right-click on a stacked item, you know, something like, say, a stack of contraband or a partial stack of contraband, you don't get the protected status line.
Okay.
So that was, I thought, interesting.
I can actually see there being some technical issues involved with that as to why that may not allow that. But yeah, so to give an example, folks, I'll go ahead and game right quick. Let's say one of my spiral waves. Can I actually do it from? Okay, I can actually do it from the ship. But let's say I had removed one of my spiral waves. I wanted to upgrade it and everything. You can see I right-clicked on it. Then I've got the different options. I can do the change protected status on. So the status is now on. I can't discard it. I can't mail it. Not that you can mail these anyway. But
But
that would be great if you could. That'd be very great if you could mail them. But yeah, you can kind of see that there. And now this weapon's not going to be able to be sold, put in the mail, any of that stuff. So that is a very nice thing. But
yes.
I know one of the other things that did stick out to me was resolved a game server memory leak caused by reward collection. I know this is one that I've had a few people complaining to me about for quite a while now, about there being a memory leak and everything. But definitely glad to see they're finally putting that one to bed. I know that's plagued a few people now. But any particular stuff that stands out to you, Kirby?
Let me see. Taylor has been added to Drozana, or new Taylor. There's new hairstyle, shaved and curly. Will be available to female captains. Yeah. Alright, let's see.
All to space
Again,
Barbie.
I'm skimming because there were things that I remembered. I know, right? There's some more support added for filtering the PvE queues on the new UI system. So check those out. They've resolved an issue where queuing for red alerts in sector space interacts would not join queues with players which queued through the PvE UI. PvP challenges now use the queue system. Mirror invasion stuff. Mirror invasion's gone now, so I'm not even going to bother with that. I know there was more. I'm skimming for it. Research and development pack items can now be stacked up to 10 per inventory slot.
Yay!
Instead of single items, yeah. Oh, the Borg energy type adaptation now affects damage from all sources of the adapted energy type. So this is new. This has been a change. It used to be, okay, say Darkblade and I both are fighting Borg and we're both using the same energy type. It used to be if my weapon adapted, his weapon would still be fine. And if his weapon adapted and he was still using it, my weapon would still use fine. So we were independent of each other. Now that's no longer the case. Now, let's say we go down, we're both using anti-protons, because I like my anti-proton minigun.
Herald staff, just saying.
You know? Yeah, okay. Anyway. But, so we're both using this, and say I fire my minigun and it uses up all the adaptations, and now they've adapted. That means his anti-proton weapon ain't gonna be no good either. So now we both have to remodulate in order to be effective again. Now, usually I go down with my TR-116, so it don't make no difference. But if you don't have one, this is going to be important.
Indeed. But,
yeah,
like Teacher was saying, I typically, whenever I know I'm going to be fighting exclusively Borg, I'll bust out the TR and my Zephram Cochrane shotgun because reasons. Because there's just
no
something...
remodulation.
Well, there's that. That is
Yeah.
That is the big thing, is because it is kinetic damage and it goes straight through the shields, therefore never touching the shields, the Borg never have a chance to adapt to it. So that is why a TR and a Zephram Cochrane shotgun are very deadly to the Borg.
Yes. Now the other big change that I'm seeing, the omnidirectional Tetrion support beam array from the competitive wargames reputation now proper.
Breaking up a bit on my end.
Beam arrays instead of crafted. So this means if you have, say you went and ran, I forget what mission it is right now,
Butterfly.
that gives you the, thank you, that gives you the Tetrion 360, okay, you can no longer use the, you need this 360 at 360.
And the only reason I even know that is because, well, I'm a big proponent of Tetrion and Polaron, mainly because that's what I got my start with, actually. But, anyway. But, another big thing, in case people are wondering, for our ground people, the known issue they have, the Kittimer and Stasis, blah, words hard, an option is missing from a console blocking queue progression. The queue has been disabled until the issue can be resolved. So, if you've been looking for the ground Kittimer mission and wondering why it's not there, this is why. But there is a pretty healthy bit of notes and everything. We'll definitely have this linked for you guys so you can check it out and everything. But moving along, we actually have our budget build for the evening. Now, if you remember,
Yay!
We've been going through as sort of a mini-series, and we've taken a ship from the bare bones, and we've been taking it all the way up, scaling it to eventually be a high-end build. Now, the ship we've been working with is actually the T5 Ranger. This is one of the temporal ships that you can get from the Giant Temporal Pack, or you can purchase it individually from the C-Store and everything, but as far as this particular ship goes, it's been a fun one to work with and everything, to try to build stuff for. And this week we are doing the high-end version, so this is kind of what it could look like at the high-end as the end result. If you remember, about 2 weeks ago we did our bare bones, which assumes we just got the ship, we didn't have a lot to work with. Then last week we did our mid-range budget, where we assume, okay, we've built up a little bit of resources and everything, and we've been able to kit it out a little bit better. This week is the ultimate high-end, the end result. This assumes that maybe we've made this our flagship, or we've come into a good bit of resources, and EC and dilithium are no longer something that we really have to worry about. As far as the ship itself goes, you can see some of the changes here, hopefully. I made all of the weapons, I scaled those up to 14, everything. I scaled all of the consoles up as well. I forgot to actually scale the deflector and engines and that stuff up, but...
I also see a couple Lobby consoles on there.
Indeed, but...
yes.
So, again, we'll get to the consoles in just a minute, but... by now, once you've hit the high end, it's assumed that you've got a lot of resources that you've dumped into the ship and everything. It takes a while to build a ship for the higher end and everything because of some of the initial investments you need and some of the investments you might want to use. Now, it's assumed by now that the pilot has been doing a bit of upgrading and everything. They've got their weapons to at least 14 and everything. Eventually they may take them to Epic as dilithium and time is available. Now, you'll remember for our build, we've been using phasers the entire time. Now, we did utilize the quantum phase set. We have all three pieces. We have our quantum phase beam array, our quantum phase torp launcher, and then finally the third is the quantum phase converter. Now, these come from, I believe this is the... I want to think it's the Sunrise? Okay, yeah, Sunrise mission that it comes from. Then, up front, we also have a pulse phaser. This was one we purchased off the exchange. And I want to think this one was about 3 million, 4 million, somewhere around there. I don't remember without looking at the notes what we picked it up for. Then, we also have an agony phaser. This is one that we also purchased from the exchange. This one I remember being about 8 million EC, somewhere along in there. Now, as far as our budget for the particular ship, once we've reached the high end, we assume that budget is no longer an issue. I did calculate some of the costs and everything for everybody, so you could see what all you would actually need to get this particular ship and everything, assuming you've bought everything at once. But we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. We also had our fleet phasers on the back. These are the advanced phasers. These are the DMG times 3 crit Ds. You could purchase those from your fleet store off of the Starbase. And the good thing about fleet weapons is they're guaranteed mods and everything. They start out at ultra rare, which back in the day was a very big deal, because that was one of the only ways before the upgrading system that you could get something with 4 mods and everything on it. But as far as our shields, our engines, warp core and everything, we did stick with the soul defense set all the way through. Now, as far as tanking goes, I actually rank the soul defense set as the number 2 set in the game, tied with the... crap, which is it? I'm brain farting on my sets, but...
Iconian, Cobalt-y.
Iconian, that's it.
Okay.
I couldn't think of it. I was having a bit of a brain fart. It's been one of those weeks for me, folks. Hopefully you can overlook my brain lapse.
I think I transferred all of my side effects from my meds over to you today.
I'm starting to think she spiked that Pepsi I drank earlier. But, and again,
I'll never admit to it.
She is a Gornalicious, so that wouldn't surprise me. Because they're all Gorny. I mean, what? Can we make those kind of jokes on there? But, anyway, all joking aside and everything, the Soul Defense set and everything, now that I've actually got my train of thought, I actually rank it as the number 2 tank set, tied with the Iconian, and reason being...
joined your channel.
And we also have somebody that has snuck into the channel, but as far as our shields, our deflector, everything, we use the Soul Defense set because of the 2-set bonus that it gives of essentially a free neutronium armor worth of protection, and also the 3-set bonus that it gives of the massive hull heal. Even at the high end, those are still very nice bonuses and not really something to sneeze at. As far as the warp core, again, we use it for the capacitor, which is the temporal phase overcharged warp core. Since the Soul Defense set did not come with a warp core, we had to source one, and the one that we picked up was the one from the Butterfly mission. But that particular warp core, if you were around for the Delta recruitment event, then you're familiar with a device known as the Temporal Negotiator. The Temporal Negotiator, whenever you had that slotted, would cut your bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration, and for those people that were not here for that, you can get that same effect in the form of this warp core's capacitor. But overall, even at the high end, the Soul Defense is a very nice set. The reason I rank it at number 2 and behind the Kobali. The Kobali, in my opinion, is the number 1 tank set, with possibly the Temporal set from Reputation being also the tied for number 1. The Soul Defense set gives a lot of nice defense, but not nearly as much healing potential as the Kobali set does. So because the healing potential is a bit behind Kobali, that's why I would rank it at number 2. And then I say Iconian also tied for number 2, because the Iconian does negate a lot of damage up front, but its other effects are geared more towards DPS and everything, so it doesn't really have a lot of healing potential, but because of how much damage it can negate, and it rivals that of the Soul Defense set, then that's why I put it at number 2. But getting into our consoles, we had our Quantum Phase Converter. Now what makes this one so good, obviously being part of the Quantum Phase set, but also because of the fact that it's essentially a free tactical console's worth of boost to your phasers. Then we also have our 0-point energy conduit from our Romulan Reputation. Since Season 13, this console has really made a bit of a comeback and everything, especially for the crit value that it gives, and I believe it's also the Drain X, I think is what it gives.
It also gives +2 energy to all subsystems.
That too.
Yep.
But, yeah, very nice console to have, especially since Universal consoles have a lot of value again. Now, I'm going to do the low-buy consoles last, because there's a reason for that. But, for Science consoles, we had our assimilated module from the Omega Rep. This gives a good chunk of crit chance, a good chunk of crit severity, as well as some other nice buffs. Then we have a single restorative particle focuser from the Crenum Science Lab. Now if you're cracking off a bunch of heals, this has the potential to boost your Gravity Well's effectiveness. Then the big bads of your tactical consoles, your vulnerability locators. Now these are arguably the best consoles in the game as far as your tactical consoles. They give the standard boost to whatever energy type, or beams, or torp, whatever it is you're looking to boost. They give the standard boost, but they also give 1.8 crit chance per console for however many you have on the ship. So, not only do they boost your crit chance, but they also boost your weapons. Now, we waited to include these at the high end because these are very expensive in terms of fleet credits to obtain. They're 50k a pop, and then around 10k to lithium. So that is pretty expensive in terms of fleet credits and everything. And these are one of the more cost intensive, so that's why we waited to the high end. Now, as Kirby said, she did notice the low-buy consoles on the ship. Now, I went ahead and slotted them at Epic and everything. Eventually you'll get them there as well. Now, since we're going for the high end, we may as well have gone balls to the wall, as I like to say. And 2 low-buy consoles that are on most, if not all, of my ships, everything, are the Bioneural Infusion Circuits and the Tachyokinetic Converter. Now, the reasons being for picking these 2 consoles up from low-buy is the massive amount of stats that they actually give. The Bioneural Infusion Circuits on its own at Mark 14 Epic is worth 25% critical severity. that is a massive, massive boost. Then you also have your tachyokinetic converter, which basically, in a nutshell, to sum this one up, is a universal console that is essentially an assimilated module and an RCS console built into one thing. So you get the benefits of two consoles in one slot. And you can see the actual stat values in-game. You can see our bioneural infusion circuits, and what all they give: a little bit of hull cap, some control X, and the 25% severity. Then we also have the tachyokinetic converter, which gives a bit of control X, 37.5 flight turn, 1.2 crit chance, and 12.5 crit severity. But as far as using low-buy consoles, I did take into account what it may cost to generate these and everything. You're looking at... They cost about 200 low-buy a pop. Or, yeah, 400 total. There are 200 low-buy a pop. And to generate that, you're going to need to open lockboxes. Well, how do you do that? You get keys. Now, you could just do what I do, or do what I've done anytime I needed them, and throw cash at the game if you're able to do that. But if you're not able to invest cash, as we're pretty much assuming, since this is the budget build section, that you've had to go out and buy the keys from the exchange through EC, or save up some extra dilithium and flip that into Zen. But the number that we came up with was about, I assumed 60 keys. Once I did the math, it came out to about 57.1, and that assumes that you get just the 7 low-buy every time. You're guaranteed a minimum of 4 low-buy crystals per key, and on average you get about 7 low-buy. So I assumed 60 keys. That way you should have a little bit of room and everything, and even if you don't get all 400 low-buy off of the 60 keys, then you should be pretty darn close and everything. And you may need to use all 60 keys, you may not. It just kind of depends on luck of the draw. And you might get a ship in the process, so that's the fun stuff. But as far as our devices, I like to consider those personal preference. Now, one that we do use a lot, myself and Kirby, is the Subspace Field Modulator. But this one comes from the Skirmish mission. It's a nice defensive power. Now, it also does debuff you to a minus 400 protonic damage. Now, ordinarily that's not a big deal, but since more enemies have been using protonic type effects, it is something that we do need to mention, because it could potentially come up, depending on when and where you use this particular device. Now, other battery types that we like to use are the Energy Amplifier, which is a buff to your energy weapon damage for the duration of the battery effect. And then the Exotic Particle Flood, which boosts your, I believe it's the exact effect is the EPG, everything. Yep. So it boosts your EPG for the duration. Very, very nice batteries. Usually pretty cheap on the exchange.
Or you can craft them if you have the materials and at least level 10.
And that as well.
In the crafting school, yes.
But as far as our skills go, this is the same skill set we've been working with. You can kind of see what I did with the Lieutenant. We've got some points in hull cap and regen. We maxed out our energy damage. We've got our improved DPS flow, impulse expertise, our drain X and control X. We did max out our targeting expertise to offset the accuracy penalty to fall and cannon scatter volley now for other builds and everything. We also have our defensive maneuvering maxed, our all 3 points in hull plating, our shield hardness. We also have our points in weapon amplification and specialization. Now the specialization, they're still showing a 6% bonus. This was actually reduced to 4% as of Season 13, but it is still worth picking up. Then the amplification is still showing a 20%, but this was actually buffed to 40% as of Season 13, so very well worth picking up. We also have our defensive and offensive subsystem tuning, because, hey, free power. We also have improved exotic particle gens, We've maxed out our long-range targeting sensors to reduce the weapons drop-off. Then, I personally had slotted the advanced shield pin to give extra shield pin to the weapons. The other option you have is the hull pin. Now, Kirby prefers the hull pin over the shield version and everything. There is no right or wrong answer to this. It's just a matter of what you prefer. Do you value getting through the shields quicker, or do you value bypassing extra armor? Both have their pros and cons.
As I always tell this numpty over here, shields go down, and then what?
Well, I always tell her, too, what do you do if you can't get through the shields? So, all ball busting and grief giving aside that we do and everything, there really is no right or wrong answer here. It is purely personal preference and everything. Both will do you well and everything, but I do like to use one or the other at the very least. Then finally we have a point and warp core potential because free power, and then we have our shield absorption to negate a few criticals from time to time. As far as our specializations, we've been using pilot as primary, intel secondary, and everything. But if survival does become a bit of an issue, then you could consider swapping from intel to strategist and everything. But aside from that, pilot and intel will work just fine. But as far as our bridge officer skills, we did change up one thing. Now, as far as the Ranger itself goes, it has an Ensign Universal, a Lieutenant Commander TAC, Ensign TAC, Commander Engineering, and Lieutenant Commander Science. Now, for the Ensign Universal, we have a Torpedo Spread 1 to take advantage of our Quantum Phase Torp. Then we have a Lieutenant Commander Tactical. In this, we used our engineering team. We have our tactical team. Then we have our attack pattern beta. And then we have our fall 3 and everything. Then for our Ensign Tactical, we changed the torpedo high yield to a Chemosite 1 and everything. This is mainly to squeak in a little something extra and whatnot. If you want to keep the high yield, then you can definitely do so. It's just, I like to use a Chemosite occasionally, but for Commander Engineering, we had our Engineering Team 1, we had our Reverse Shield Polarity to recharge our shields, our Emergency to Weapons 3, and also our Warp Bubble. Then we also had our Science Team 1 for our Science slot. This recharges our shields and purges certain things like the subnucleonic effects. We had our hazard emitters for the heal over time, and we also have our gravity well to control some targets. So hopefully you guys can kind of see where I've been going with the bridge officers the entire time. But going towards the traits and everything, we have accurate to offset the fall penalty a little bit more. We also have the beam barrage from the beam R&D school. We have beam training, elusive, and then we have grace under fire, which is the engineering specific career trait. If you're not in engineering, you're trying to use this build, you'll just swap in your career specific trait. Then we had ablative shell as one of our money abilities. We had inspirational leader as another money trait. Then we had point blank shot from the House Peg mission, and the operative for free crit chance and severity. Now, as far as the starship traits itself goes, I didn't change those out on the builder because I wasn't really sure what people would have available by the time they hit high end, if they had purchased additional ships or not. So I just kind of left that the same as far as the purposes of the builder goes. But I did take into account the cost of the 5th trait slot. Then for space reps, we did unlock our 5th space reputation slot. We have our crit severity from advanced targeting systems, precision for some crit hit chance. Then we also have our advanced engines for some extra turn and flight speed, chronocapacitor array for a bit of BOF recharge time, and also our Arc's Power Offensive as our new 5th trait. And then for our active reputation, we had the Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, the Biomolecular Shield Generator, the Quantum Singularity Manipulation, and finally our Deploy Sensor Interference Platform. Now the combo we like to use when supercharging our science powers is to drop the Singularity Manipulation first, then perhaps smack them with a Gravwell, and then follow up with our Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. But that's pretty much our build overall. We'll take a quick look at the notes in just a second. But as far as your starship traits and everything, like I was saying, that's pretty much, I didn't know what people would have, so I didn't want to just say, oh yeah, use this, and everything. But pretty much whatever traits lend to your build, I guess. And then this tells where to get everything in the notes. It takes into account total cost, fleet credit wise, all that sort of thing. Then, assuming you generated the EC to buy the keys to make the low buy, that ran at about 306 million. That is very expensive, yes. But if you're going for ultra high end, then we're assuming budget's not an issue at this point. Total time to build due to the lithium refinement is about 28 days. So about a month and everything. But I don't think that's too terribly bad for your flagship. But any comments, thoughts, Kirby?
Yeah, it is quite expensive at 300, little over 300 million. But again, this is a high-end budget. This is assuming you've been able to do something to earn EC, or that you've figured out some of the easy ways to farm dilithium, especially with KDF characters, and and then been able to get into that and to get the keys to get the low B, etc., etc.
Indeed.
But yeah, high-end builds, fun.
And I should mention as well, folks, as far as the lithium refinement and everything, again, this assumes that you're purchasing everything at once. A lot of these items we've already taken into account for in previous builds, so should already have. The total EC this time around is just assuming you were to purchase everything at once and you were refining dilithium on a single character. Everything. As to how long it would take to generate everything here. But overall, like I said, this is the higher end. If you're going to build a higher end ship, you're going to pay up in terms of resources. That's just the way it is. And everything. But anyways, hopefully you guys have enjoyed our little mini-series. If there's other ships you'd like to see us do for a budget build, let us know. You know, do you want us to do somewhat of a high-end build? Do you want us to do a mid-range? Or do you want us to do the scraping the bare bones bottom of the budget? You know, whatever it is, let us know. And we'll see what we can try to do for you. As far as bugs go for this week in the Buggy Corner, I am working on a few bugs, some of them more of the visual type of bugs, thankfully this time around. There's...
Oh. Okay, so there was one that I saw right before when we were getting ready to do the show from actually one of my viewers. So he said he got a demo record of it, but let me actually pull it up. Because I want to remember exactly what he said. Okay, so he says, I just got a great demo record. Oh, dang it. I had it. There it is. Of a bug on Rise Up. After deactivating my floater, I was stuck with running animation and floater movement. So he was running and floating at the same time. Yep, I was running through the air and across the water. It corrected when I toggled my floater again, but it was crazy fun for a while. So.
Yeah, that's I don't really know what to say to that one.
Yeah. I figured you wouldn't.
Yeah, if you happen to see this broadcast there, don't know what your name is, but
I'll contact you.
yeah. But if you happen to see the broadcast, I'll definitely pass this along. That's one of the weirder ones I've heard. Not the weirdest, but ranks up there anyway.
And the really good thing is that he got video, so I'll ask him to get our hands on that so we can send that in. But yeah, that's best thing you can do if you can get video of something like that. Get video of it. And then get let us know, and we'll take that and get that to the devs. Because that
is the big thing, folks, and everything. They don't like the bugs any more than we do as players. They like to fix them when they can. Sometimes coding is a major pain in the butt, especially depending on what's broken. One little tiny 1 or 0 or dot out of place, and it can bring the whole entire code crashing down. It is a very big pain in the butt to do. But, again, if you have bugs, if you have issues with any part of the game, be it PC, be it console, feel free to come onto the forums, let them know, say, hey, this is what's happening, this is how to reproduce it. If you can get screenshots or video, that's even better. That way they have something to look at, and the rest of the bug hunters have something to link in our reports. Feel free to talk to them on the forums, or feel free to pass something my way, or pass something the way of the other hosts of the show. They'll get it to me, and I'll pass it along to the devs. But that's pretty much it for the Bugs Corner this week. But coming up on our final segment of the evening, we have the Teacher's Corner. What have you got for us this
Corner. Week? So, with the release of the 2017 summer event, you may have noticed a new activity called the Biathlon. And so, as promised last week, I figured out the ins and outs of the Biathlon, and that is this week's Teacher's Corner. It's actually more complicated than I thought it would be. You have to hit the transition just right, or it will do the old activating a floater is not, which I have done this quite often. I have missed the mark and been disqualified for activating my floater at the transition point. Yeah.
I can see that being a pain.
Oh yeah. So I'm not sure if maybe they need to make that a little less sensitive. Make the transition, the hitbox on where you gotta hit, maybe make that a little bigger. I don't know. Just spitballing ideas. But yeah, you do have to kind of aim for a certain spot. And if you miss it, you're disqualified. And it is a pain.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have that in the notes for you guys.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we'll definitely have that in the notes. The other thing I noticed is that there's a gate you have to go through right at the transition point. I often have to double back to make sure I hit that gate, otherwise I'll miss it and nothing will count until I go back and hit it. Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, folks, it's pretty much what we've got for a show this evening and everything. Hopefully Artie and Neela will be back with us this next week and everything. But, anyways, shout out to our friends over at the Temporal Armada who were kind enough to sponsor us and rebroadcast this as well. Everything, go check those fine folks out on their radio channel. And also, we are still planning to head to Vegas this year, so we also do have a GoFundMe if you'd like to support us and help us out. That helps to cover some of the expenses, such as electricity for the booths, the internet, and everything that we will need. So any little bit helps, even if it's just $1 or if it's just spreading the word for us and everything. We are grateful for any and all support and everything that you do decide to throw our way, because without you viewers out there, we wouldn't have a show. But if you'd like us also to help you out with your piloting, then feel free to submit your videos to us so we can kind of see a little video of where you're at and can offer some various tips and advice and everything to help improve your piloting. And in addition to that, yeah, what am I forgetting?
I think you got it all.
I don't think I got it all this time, but
He got it all, folks.
yay. But anyways, folks, as always, hope to see you again next week. But for now, this is Pilot Review, and we are signing off.
Bye.